Do you guys see what I have to deal with like 90% of the day?
No, you started it.
In a land far, far away, in a distant galaxy, city of Detroit, comes two, a male and a female, against all odds, rising up to point out the hypocrisy of the world, which is a never-ending journey.
Okay, so what we're gonna actually do today, and believe it or not, I actually don't mind Pearly Things. I think she's okay, like, but you know what? Every now and again, even the most likable YouTuber says something where it's like, what? So I watched this video with her being interviewed by a YouTuber called H3. So slight interruption. Of course, we have a newborn baby, so excuse all the interruptions you may see or weird cuts or whatever. Anyway, Pearly Things. She was on H3. Let's just get started. I mean, shall we?
Thomas Sowell is an author who talks about the history of slavery. So
do you agree with that premise that slavery was embellished or no?
I think that there are parts that are under embellished and there are parts that are over embellished. I think it just depends what we're talking about.
That's so interesting. I've got to know what was over embellished about slavery. Just like one example, I'm dying to know.
Yeah, I just rather, I mean, I was talking about a book that I read, and I think to understand the context, you'd have to read the book.
But you just said some parts were embellished, some parts were under embellished.
I just, again,
are you retracting that?
I'd really just rather not.
Okay. No, but slavery being embellished, that's so interesting. I don't know how you embellish it.
There are certain facts that we're not allowed to talk about.
Like what? I would love to. We're doing the taboo. We're mixing it up. It's red pill, baby. Let's see the world as it is.
Taboo topics.
I genuinely want to know how it's embellished.
Yeah.
What can't we talk about? Come on.
I mean, I could show you the video I was quoting, but it's just, I'd rather not get into this, so.
Sounds like a blue pill attitude to me.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping this was like a good faith interview.
Wait, what's bad faith? I'm literally showing you clips of you saying stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. What about this interview has been bad faith?
I just think you're kind of trying to push an agenda, and you're not. Yeah, I just think you're trying to push.
That's a clip of you saying that. You can disavow it. That would be super easy to say I was wrong.
Interview where I'm quoting somebody. Like if you watch the full interview, I am quoting somebody, and now you're trying to pin me down about a topic that I don't dive into.
Hold on.
So it's like, that's not the point of my channel.
Okay,
the point of my channel isn't.
I know, but you said it. How is that bad faith? Hold on, let me see.
Because I was talking about how the founder of Thomas Sowell talks about how the guy that made Roots talked about how it was a myth for his people to live by. Okay. That's what the guy who made Roots said, Alex Haley.
Okay.
So, and I can't even talk about that on a podcast without being canceled by the internet.
Yeah, but mythology, you know, myth doesn't necessarily mean it's a lie.
So basically, she said some things about slavery that weren't cool, and apparently from what she said, she was repeating what an author named Thomas Sowell said. But what's funny and what made me want to do a video on Pearly Things was just the fact that earlier today, I saw a video who basically like a woman who says all the right things at all the right times and is basically what men want. Why is she single? And I just wanted to get a male opinion, even though you're my husband, you know, you can just answer this from a completely male perspective.
Okay. I mean, it's always two sides to a coin. So what's shown to the public might not be what's shown outside of the public eye. I hate to say it, she should have probably just took her L and retracted the statement. It probably would have been better her just saying I made a mistake and I meant that, you know. But I mean, that would have been the best way to save face. This is going to sound really bad. But she has money, and I'm not going to say this is all women because this is just my opinion. And of course, my opinion, I could be wrong, so don't crucify me. But it's like, oh, if a woman has an attitude that, you know, I have money, I can talk to you any way I feel like it because what matters the most in the world is a bank account or the numbers you have in your bank account, then she can get a guy, but how long will she keep that guy? Because I think even people that want to be, even those guys that want to mooch off of women, even they're going to reach a boiling point one day where it's like, you know what, F this, I'll go out and get my own money than dealing with this. And I'm not saying she's that type of person, but like I said, I mean, what could go on behind closed doors, you never really know.
You don't. And you know something, I'm just going to say it, like, I just was noticing, and this is the first time that I've actually noticed this, but she doesn't have any breasts. And I honestly thought you were going to say something like that. Like, because I'm just noticing, I'm like, man, she is really flat chested. And I'm not saying that, you know, she's not attractive. I mean, to each his own. There's beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but she has nothing.
You know what?
Like nothing.
That might be why I didn't notice it, because I mean, I shouldn't be one to comment on her looks, but to me, she's in my opinion, she would be average, and because nothing sticks out about her, she
blends in the crowd.
She goes under the radar.
Yeah, like she's just not super pretty. You know, no offense to her or anything. I'm not the most gorgeous woman in the world myself, but I'm just looking at her. I'm like, you know, she's kind of a plain Jane, and you know, she doesn't have a bodacious body, so it's like maybe that's part of the reason too. You got all this money, and then there's nothing that stands out about you. Maybe that's why she's single. I don't know, but we'll keep listening.
Right. Just because he's mythology is like culture,
right, but I'm
history.
saying that doesn't mean the way it's depicted in the movie was how it actually happened. And that's what he was talking about on the book. But again, I was quoting a book, and you're trying to like pin me down on quoting a book.
Let me watch this again and see if I'm doing that.
Stuff too, because that's literally the founder of, or the guy who made Roots said, I wanted a myth for my people to live by. Yeah. So they often, but that's what they do is they embellish.
So then you say, but here's what they do.
And I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible.
I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible.
Right, but they want to make it like more horrible.
But they want to make it more horrible
that they can control people.
So that they can control people.
Right, but
Nick Fuentes agrees.
But wait! Oh my gosh! 5 minutes before I say Sowell talks about this in his book, so I'm communicating in the interview that I'm quoting an author.
You're not being honest. Like, you say they do this to. Okay, so you disavow it. Just disavow it then. That's easy. Just say I don't think slavery was embellished. I mean, that's super easy. That's like a layup. Do you agree? You know what I mean? It's like just say you don't think slavery was embellished.
I think there are certain facts that you're not allowed to talk about. I don't really want to talk about it today.
But that Roots was what is a myth?
Again, there are certain facts you're not allowed to talk about, and I don't really feel like getting into it today.
Thomas Sowell compared Barack Obama to Adolf Hitler. Do you like that analogy? That's the author you're quoting. Do you think that's a fair analogy?
That's a quite one-sided way to write his whole work, but he wrote like 100 books.
Oh, I'm just asking you, do you agree with that statement? Barack Obama is comparable to Adolf Hitler.
No.
Okay. See, it's not hard. It's not hard. That's awesome. That's easy to do. You also said George Washington was viewed from his slaves like a father. Part of what the myth, I guess, is that not all slave owners were evil. Some were father figures like George Washington. Did you say that?
I don't remember. I think like if someone's a great and powerful man in history to the point like they're talking about him hundreds of years later, he didn't have any kids. But
did he own slaves?
What?
Did he own slaves? George Washington.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, no romance to me. I'm just saying.
No, it's actually interesting. He had a different, like he inherited his slaves, and it wasn't as simple as he could have just like let them go, because the debt that's incurred on them, like you can't just release them. And so his slaves actually, like he had a really good relationship with them, and they considered him like a dad.
What's your source for that?
That was from a Thomas Sowell book.
Thomas Sowell. So he's your guy. Thomas Sowell's the man.
So she's just listening to this guy, Thomas Sowell. He's a famous author, and she's just quoting him left and right, and he's getting her in all kinds of trouble because of this. I mean, what is considered to be racist rhetoric. And it's only, let's just be honest, it's only because she's white. Like, you're unmistakably white, ma'am. And you're saying things about slavery, about black people, that you, as a white female, a rich white female, shouldn't be saying. Come on now. This bothered me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Because, go ahead.
I do feel bad for her, because looking at this, and you never know what's going to happen on a podcast when you go to it. It does feel like, I'm going to play devil's advocate. It does feel like he's pushing an agenda, but at the same time, let's just say that she made herself such a big target that it's almost impossible not to hit. I mean, I kind of like the alley-oop analogy, but anyway.
And then the fact that she had a black co-host who quit the show because of these same comments.
Me personally, I can't imagine anybody in the world will be happy to be in slavery. Heck, I mean, you could even say we're still in slavery because we're forced to go to work, just to pay taxes or end up on the street.
Now, I'm not going to say that there weren't slaves that did like their slave owners. It's called what? Stockholm syndrome, where you have like a slave that actually did identify and had a good relationship. Nobody likes to be enslaved and not be paid for the work that they do. But there have been situations where even kidnapped people ended up identifying and feeling some level of empathy for the people that kidnapped them because of Stockholm syndrome, which is like this situation where they're taking care of you, they're feeding you, they're sheltering you. So even though they're not treating you 100% the way you want to be treated, they are providing something for you. So it's like you still like have some type of feeling for them, some type of almost love in some cases, I'm sure. And there were even enslaved people that, you know, were in love, I'm sure, with their slave masters and procreated and everything else. And we're not saying that that was the majority. We're not saying that that was a minority. We don't really know. We can only go from what we've heard. But it's just the fact that I personally think that it's just the fact that she's this young white woman who came from a very rich background. And it's like, wow, how dare you say this stuff? I think that's more of what it is.
I think for me, it's like whether it's her quoting somebody or the person who actually wrote it. I just think that's like, unless you're reading the actual autobiography from the person, you can't say how these people felt. Because I mean, it's that, what's the golden rule? Who has the gold makes the rule, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or he who wins the war can make history or whatnot. So it's like it's you can't go by what somebody else say. Oh, they were happy to be at that. How do you know they wasn't? Oh, the master came. Yes, we happy to work for master. That's why I kind of cracked up when he said, I would like to know the source of that, because you're going to speak on behalf of people saying that they were happy to be in slavery. I mean, read where they tarred and feathered, castrated, burned, even skinned, and you can say that it's been embellished. I mean, I don't know. That seems a bit much.
So what we're going to do is listen to the next few minutes of this. We've got about 5 more minutes left.
Thomas Sowell wrote a column about supporting segregation in public schools. George Washington.
You want me to apologize? Like, you want me to talk about every single one of this man's opinions?
No, I just want I just want to know what you think. Do you think racism was embellished? I mean, it's so easy. I mean, just say no.
I think, okay, there was a time where I started to read accounts from actual slaves. So these were like, in like and you know, I can't really talk about this. Like, even if I talk about this now, they're going to clip it. They're going to say things I didn't say. But it's like, I used to read actual slave accounts, and I was surprised how many didn't say bad things about their owners after they were free.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not to say like slavery was a horrible institution, but I can't talk about that fact without getting canceled. I can't say, hey, these slaves had a good relationship with their owners.
Because it's not true. Because it's just not true. It's not true. George Washington was not a father figure to his slaves.
Well, if you look up, like, I think it was Booker
47, let's see, 47 of George Washington's slaves tried to escape. Would you try to escape if you loved your master?
Maybe that was wrong. I don't know. This was like
okay.
A little bit on a podcast months ago. I don't really remember, but and I said I wasn't sure if it was Washington either in that interview at some point. But
well, George Washington
was. I'm bringing up is I'm not even allowed to have this conversation without.
What do you mean not allowed?
Nah, but I mean, we're giving you the platform.
I mean, I got months of backlash for this. I'm now like you guys are kind of trying to do a gotcha moment.
No. I didn't know about the backlash.
Like, you know,
I
I'm not really.
I didn't know about the backlash. I promise I didn't.
Like, I had months.
I just want to know what you think.
Like, I had months of people, like, you know, it's like if I have this conversation, I had months of people calling my employees slaves. Like, that's what they call, like,
that's horrible. Yeah, I disagree.
Horrible.
That sucks.
Horrible.
But at the same time,
and like even the guy, and you know this because you watched the video of that guy.
Mm-hmm.
The reaction you just like you're acting oblivious, so I didn't know that, but you do know that because the reaction you just watched was my former co-host who insinuated that my employees were being colonized.
Oh, I didn't know that. I promise. So I just wanted to get your take. There. Well, people say I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on this. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not like my channel isn't about slavery. That's like a fringe.
I know.
Comment.
I want to know about you.
But I'm asking, like, why are you bringing this up when that's not really what my channel's about?
Her channel is not about slavery, but you made a comment on it, a pretty broad statement about slavery and about the people who experienced it. And you're from today. You're not from the past. And some of the excerpts that you may have read, some of the rhetoric that you may have come across may or may not be true. And so for you to make the statements that you made as a white woman, you can understand the way Black people may feel about it. Some things should just be left unsaid by white people, just like some things can't be addressed by Black people. Like you don't know because you're not that.
I would say some things should be left unsaid by all people if you don't fully understand the situation or the ramifications of what you might say.
They're giving her a chance. She could have either went back on what she said, or she could have cleaned it up in a way, or she could have doubled down on it. It was up to her, but she chose to rather take the more submissive route about it. Well, I really would rather not. It's not good for me. It's not good for my image. It's kind of making you look a certain way. Like, if you really felt strongly about it, then you should have stuck with what you said, or you should have took it back if you felt bad about it. But to just play this like role of innocent, like, oh, I don't really want to talk about it anymore. You saw what I dealt with. I don't really want to say anything. That's what makes it look weak to me. For whatever reason, this white woman is in the Black manosphere. And she has some very strong statements about women, about women's sexuality. If you're going to say such broad statements, you should stick by what you say.
I can only ask you things about. This is interesting. I want to ask you about it. But I can only ask you things in a confined space?
You can, but you understand how that looks to me. It's like you're just trying to pick out every single.
Listen, Pearl. To be fair, to be totally fair, you could just say, "I don't think slavery was embellished."
Like you were
like
just
that's
talking
super
about,
easy. That's a layup for most people.
I was quoting a book. That's the crazy part. I was quoting a book. So
do you agree with his statement, though?
I hate to keep interrupting, but I keep remembering a comment that somebody had said under this video. Somebody was like, I love how Pearl keeps all of her baggage under her eyelids. And it's like, I can't unsee it now.
Do I think overall it was embellished? Some parts, sure.
There it is. Which parts?
Some parts.
No, please tell me which parts. Tell me.
I think that you can't. I think that certain slaves had good relationships with their owners. Not all, maybe not most, but I think some did.
And that just
and there are accounts of them saying this.
So some slaves had good relationships with their masters. Therefore, slavery was embellished.
You know how this is going to go for me. Like, I don't know why you're doing this. You know I can't have this conversation without them painting it a certain way.
Well, just own it then. Just do it. Just say what you want. You know what I mean? Just be red-pilled about it. Who is they? I don't know who's they. Just your haters or someone?
The left.
The left.
Do they have parentheses around the they?
You didn't know any of the backlash I got.
Well, who cares? You said it. Just own it.
No, I'm asking. You didn't know any of the backlash I got.
I didn't know about it.
No idea. Even though you got that from a video that my ex-co-host made about me.
Right.
See, like, this is dishonest. It's not honest.
But what's the problem? You're getting backlash for something that you think.
But I'm saying, so you're like,
you're think that. You brought your parents up when you were talking about hiring people, didn't you?
I said, I think it's a bit disingenuous.
You talk about your parents all the time. You talk about how your dad is rich. You did a tour of his whole barn with a bowling alley and fucking recreational stuff in it. Like, why am I not allowed to talk about that?
Like, you even just said that you knew. Like, because you got that clip from an like.
Okay,
we're not here to protect your reputation.
Yeah, I mean, who cares? Let's say I didn't know about it to the extent that it was such an issue for you, but let's just say it was. I mean,
I do have to go though, because I have a show coming up. So.
Okay, let's just end on this note.
Mm-hmm.
Slavery was embellished because some masters had good relationships with their masters. Some slaves had good relationships with their masters.
All right.
But don't you see how easy it is to just say, I don't think it was embellished? I don't think it's a secret.
You guys act just like I've been preached.
Like, Pearl, wait, Pearl, I don't think it's a secret that some masters had good relationships with their slaves. I don't think that's a secret. There's been a whole
I really appreciate you having me on, but I'm going to go. Thank you.
George.
Thank you.
She was panicking at the end there. Holy shit.
Okay. First of all, I genuinely did not know that it was such a sore point for her. I mean, it is a crazy thing to say.
I mean, she gets backlash all the time for all the things that she says. Why is that one so off limits?
That I don't know.
I'll tell you why that one was so off limits.
Because that could potentially lose all her
subscribers
audience. Because
her majority is black male. Okay, because she's for the manosphere, and for whatever reason, black males watch her. I don't really know why, but yeah, they do. But anyways, you guys, this was kind of interesting. I like the way H3 approached this. I'm gonna probably start watching them now, seeing as how this interview was pretty funny, the way they addressed everything. I don't have anything against Pearly Things. I do agree with a lot of what she says. Obviously not all, just like how I say I don't agree with everything that any other YouTuber that I watch. I mean, sometimes you can kind of like take the meat and leave the bones, okay? Just like I would like for you to leave us a comment and tell us what you think. And any other thoughts from you, Daddy?
Absolutely not. Just gotta change those things.
All right, guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.